Welcome, lords and ladies, to another episode of How the DAWSage is Made. This episode, we will discuss quantizing. What is it? Why do you do it? And how do you do it? Listen in.
Okay, kids, so here we go. Here's a very, very busy piano part that I just kind of slammed on the keyboard. And it sounds kind of like this. Now, if my intention was for this to have an eighth note feel, then it's kind of off. And let's pretend that, in fact, that was the intention, that this part was supposed to have a kind of feel to it. That would be eighth notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. For me to clean this up, what I would do, quantize-wise, is to highlight all the notes. I would go to the tool window, which you can get by clicking on Window and Show Tool Window. The quick key for that is F8. And I would go to the quantize window here. Now, the value that I had mentioned was eighth note feels. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'm going to go to here and choose eighth note. And watch these notes fall into place when I click apply. All right, so now all these notes have been shifted to those subdivisions. Sounds like this. Okay, I've come up with a drum beat here that it's in severe need of quantizing. I'll play it for you. Now listen to it against the click track and see how it's not lining up very well. Now the thing you need to do, though, is determine what kind of quantizing grid you're going to move things to. There are basically two types of grids. There's grids where everything is divided into halves, and then there's triplet feel where beats and subdivisions of beats are divided into three. Instead of me explaining how to read notes and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to show you musical examples of the two types of feels that I'm talking about. And I would say a greater portion of the time that you're working on music, they will fall into these two categories. When you're dividing a beat in half, you get a very even feel. All the beats are divided into equal pieces, and you get something which would sound a bit like this. All right. Now, don't listen to the notes and don't think back on movies about Vietnam. What you do need to focus on is that the beat 1, 2, 3, 4, very square, very straight. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so that's an example of music where the beats are divided into two parts. Now, here is an example of a song where the beats are divided into three parts. So what I'm getting at is if you're hearing a piece of music and it lines up better with one of these examples than the other, then you can make a determination of what kind of subdivision of quantizing you need to make for the song to work, for you to be able to fix your part. So let's go back to our drum part. I'm going to hum the triplet part. By the way, that was ZZ Top, Tush, great song. And let's see if Baba fits against this. Baba da 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 baba. Okay, not really. So now let's try the Fortunate Son beat, which is boom chak boom boom chak. Let's give that a shot. Boom chak boom boom chak boom chak boom boom chak boom chak boom boom chak. Actually, it's almost exactly the same beat. So that means we're going to use a quantized grid of notes dividing the beat into twos. Now, let's go to that quantized grid list. This is now dividing the beat into 8 parts. Let's apply that and see if we get something. Well, by Jove, I don't think we have to go any further. We've found a winner. So for this particular piece, we've determined that the beats are divided into twos. And the grid that works best for this one is the eighth note grid. So now what we're going to do is highlight the rest of this and apply the fix. Now let's listen to the whole thing. See if sometimes notes shift around and need to be fixed, but let's see if this sounds right. Spot on. Now, listen to this beat. Okay. Again, we're using our ears to tune us in as to what kind of subdivision is used for the music, and then we can go ahead and use the DAW to help us zero in on exactly which subdivision works. So now I'm going to go in and highlight some of these bad boys. Here we go. We'll do the first two measures. So this is what we have right now. We said triplet feel. So here's the Quantize control panel. The ones that are triplets have a T next to them. So we have 8th note triplets, 16th note triplets, and 32nd note triplets. So we're going to use the first one listed here. It's the 8th note triplet. And I applied that. Now let's see if this actually sounds good. If you notice, this bass drum hit here wasn't really lining up well. We may have to move that around. We'll come back to that later. But basically, 99% of the notes there work. So let's do the rest of this. We click and drag to highlight, and we do 8th note triplets. All right, let's see what we have with this one. Okay, similar problem. If you notice right here on the second beat, it's doing tap-bum-bum instead of boom-tap-ba-bum. And here the same thing. Obviously, we moved them so they're part of the triplet grid, but they're on the wrong piece of the triplet grid. What you can do now, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, is I'm going to turn on the triplet grid so it's visible on the screen. Right now, our grid is set to 16th notes, and we're set to snapping. Now, we're going to go to triplet subdivisions and leave snapping on. Now, what does snapping mean? That means when I take a note and I drag it around, it doesn't go in between the subdivisions. It goes right to each of those triplet subdivisions. So if you notice, as I'm dragging this note around, it's just jumping to these lines which denote the triplet subdivisions of the beats. It was here, and I'm just moving it one over, and let's hear what we've got. Yay, that's what we're looking for. And this is the same kind of thing. Again, we had this, and this bad boy wanted to be here. So let's listen to this now in its triplet glory. Okay, this could do with some more tweaking, and we could talk about accents and things like that at another time. But in terms of quantizing, this guy is done.
Okay, so just remember, as long as you have an idea of what kind of subdivision is being used for the beat that you're trying to quantize, you can then narrow it down using the Quantize grid in the Quantize control panel. There's other techniques that you can use. There's other also situations where you don't want to quantize, such as with flams or grace notes. We'll get into that another time. But 95% of the time, I would say you're in good shape, just narrowing down as to whether a beat is divided into twos or into threes, and just take it from there. We'll see you the next time on how the DAWSage is made. Go make some music, kids.